Now we move on. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is in Israel on a diplomatic mission to reinforce the U.S. brokered ceasefire in Gaza. His visit follows a weekend escalation of violence that threatened to derail the truce deal. U.S. Vice President reportedly held talks with Israeli leaders and officials for the next phase of the peace plan. When asked about the fragility of the deal, Vice President Vance has said that the deal is doing very well. He further expressed his optimism, saying that the deal requires constant monitoring and supervision. Let's in fact listen into what Vice President has said.
We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that. What we've seen the past week gives me great optimism the ceasefire is going to hold. And if we get from where we were a week ago to a long-term, durable peace between Israel and Gaza, there are going to be hills and valleys. There are going to be moments where it looks like things aren't going particularly well. But given that, and given the history of conflict, I think that everybody should be proud of where we are today. It's going to require constant effort. It's going to require constant monitoring and supervision.
The second phase of the Gaza peace deal involves the deployment of an international security force to oversee the transition period. A small contingent of British military planning officers has been sent to Israel to join a task force led by the U.S. to support stabilization efforts in Gaza. However, when asked about U.S. troops deployment in Gaza, Vice President Vance has said that the U.S. will not send troops. Let's in fact listen into what he has said.
There are not going to be American boots on the ground in Gaza. The President of the United States has made that very clear. All of our military leadership has made that very clear. What we can do is provide some useful coordination.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Ali Mohammed Bushbak. He's a Middle East researcher, joins us live from Cairo. Thank you very much, Ali, for joining us again. Good to see you. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is in Israel on a diplomatic mission to reinforce the U.S. brokered ceasefire in Gaza. His visit follows a weekend escalation of violence that threatened to derail the truce deal. U.S. Vice President reportedly held talks with Israeli leaders and officials for the next phase of the peace plan. When asked about the fragility of the deal, Vice President Vance said the deal is doing very well. He further expressed optimism, stating that the deal requires constant monitoring and supervision. Let's in fact listen into what Vice President has said.
We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that. What we've seen the past week gives me great optimism the ceasefire is going to hold. And if we get from where we were a week ago to a long-term, durable peace between Israel and Gaza, there are going to be hills and valleys. There are going to be moments where it looks like things aren't going particularly well. But given that, and given the history of conflict, I think that everybody should be proud of where we are today. It's going to require constant effort. It's going to require constant monitoring and supervision.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Ali Mohammed Bushbak. He's a Middle East researcher, joins us live from Cairo. Thank you very much, Ali, for joining us again. Good to see you. Ali, from your point of view, how do you think that they are ready to move on to phase 2, and what's going on with the phase 1 right now?
Thank you so much for having me. I think this is a visit, it's a crucial, especially after 2 days of the clashes between Hamas and Israel, and Israel resumed the airstrike. So with regard to the second phase, it's still theoretically, it's not practically. They didn't negotiate about it up to now. Benjamin Netanyahu, he's freezing the negotiation up to receive all the deceased body from Gaza. So on the ground, Hamas is doing its best and working 24/7 to find out and locate the Israelis' deceased body in Gaza. As we mentioned many times, and Hamas mentioned it, the scale of destruction prohibited Hamas to identify the places of the deceased body, and the lack of the heavy equipment also prohibited Hamas to find it out with a short time term. So the thing is, up to now, it's complicated on the ground in Gaza. People is not optimist that much, as mentioned many times. Several of people they didn't return to North Gaza. They're still in South Gaza. They're still in Deir al-Balah, in Azawaida, in Khan Yunis, and several of area. Gradually, people they are returned, but less people they are going to North Gaza. So I guess up to now, the negotiation for the second phase is still freezed. There is no any progress, especially it's a very tough, and according to many experts in this field, Hamas is not going to lie down easily its weapon, and it's not going to do this easily. So that's it prohibited the progress in negotiation. And as I mentioned, there is a no negotiation up to now for second phase of the conflict. And also, Israel talking about the obligation of Hamas to return the remaining body from Gaza. But in the same time, Israel is not allowing to Rafah, Egypt border to reopen the corridor, the only border between Gaza and Egypt to reopen, and evacuated the Palestinian injury and evacuated for the people to travel and to leave Gaza who want to leave. So on the ground, it's a still fragile ceasefire, and we have seen last 2 days how much the violence escalated between Hamas and Israel. In my opinion, and this is everyone talk about relinquished Hamas, its weapon. It's not easy. It will not be easy like what they think, and the threat of Donald Trump, it will not work with Hamas. Several of people they are not optimist in this second phase, and Benjamin Netanyahu and his government coalition, they are not happy with this ceasefire. We have seen several of a statement of Ben Gvir and Smotrich. They are urging to return to the war and urge Benjamin Netanyahu to go back to the war and wage again the war against Gaza and size Gaza. And again, we will witness a series of suffering and desperate of the civilians on the ground after relief for a couple of weeks. So
Yes.
it will be very tough next phase, but I guess no one optimist up to now.
And Ali, as we know that in this negotiation, we didn't see a particularly neutral player or among all the countries involved. Either it's U.S., Qatar, Turkey, Egypt. All of them are either pro-Israel or pro-Gaza. So what does this? Which international player can be called as a mediator, like a trustworthy mediator, and someone who's neutral? And what does this U.S.'s sending its envoy and vice president change in upcoming days?
So all the Arab region, they are believing America as the only power could be impacted Benjamin Netanyahu, because if we will talk about China, Russia, or even India, they will not they will not impact Benjamin Netanyahu's decision. As there is the only country funded Israel during this war, it's only America has been spending several of weapon and money to Israel to target the civilians in Gaza and for their killing machine and for their weapon. So the only could influence Benjamin Netanyahu, it's only America. We have seen the mediating between Qatar and Egypt and America last during the president the last American president Joe Biden. He was so weak, despite he was supporting Israel, but he couldn't impact Benjamin Netanyahu as much as Donald Trump, the only person who could make a change on the ground. We have seen he did it. We don't know. It's credible what is on the ground. This ceasefire has a credibility, and Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump for this peace has any credibility and serious about to maintain the peace and the ceasefire with Gaza, or it's just only a plan to return the captive and end the Israelis protest on the ground and wage the war again. But we don't know up to now their intent, and we don't know their in their mind. So I guess also Russia can't be mediating the conflict between Palestine and Israel, because they are already involved and indulged with the war in Ukraine. So also China couldn't be impact anything toward Benjamin Netanyahu. India could be impact because it has a tight relationship between Palestine and Israel, and Narendra Modi is one of the leader who could be impacted the decision. But I guess India is not taking this step and this stage to mediate between Palestine and Israel. And as you know, it's trying to isolate itself from the global conflict and focus on the internal policy more than and looking for the trade.
Yes, Ali, thank you very much for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you. Now we have a breaking news. A man has been apprehended after he drove his vehicle into a security barrier outside the White House in Washington, D.C. The U.S. Secret Service reported that the man collided with the security gate at a White House entrance at 2:30 a.m. GMT on Tuesday. The security breach happened just south of the Eisenhower Executive Office building to the southwest of the White House. As per reports, many buildings of the White House are in lockdown, as it also led to a complete lockdown of the immediate area around the checkpoint, impacting traffic and access in the northwest region of Washington, D.C., near the presidential complex. According to authorities, the fatal collision is being investigated as a traffic crash, and there were no signs of threat to the president's residence as of now. Now we move back to Middle East. The Israel Prime Minister has